Hello and welcome to another video on the Night Ministries channel. I am your host, Jeremy Knight. Don't forget to like the video and enjoy the show. Okay. Hello, I'm your host, Jeremy, and this is another book review video. And in today's book review video, we will be reviewing this book, Rescuing Inerrancy by Hugh Ross. That's Rescuing Inerrancy by Hugh Ross. That's the book we're reviewing in this book review. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I hope you will enjoy this video. Okay? Hey. Okay, this book, Rescuing Inerrancy, is another science apologetics book by the Reasons to Believe RTB ministry. They have very good science apologetics books, and this is another one of their science apologetics books. Christian apologetics, and it's about biblical inerrancy, which should be obvious from the title. This is a really good book. Its subtitle is A Scientific Defense. So that's Rescuing Inerrancy, A Scientific Defense by Hugh Ross. This is a very good book. You should read it. Some of my favorite chapters in this book were Chapter 12, Debunking the Dome Myth, which is a flat earth debunk, and Chapter 13, Ancient Near Eastern Science. Which was also a flat earth debunk. There were 2 entire chapters in this book debunking the flat earth movement. The most number of chapters I've seen for debunking the flat earth movement in an RTB book. Of course, we also have chapters in here that debunk young earth creationism, like Chapter 14, Biblical Cues to Earth's Age. So yeah, we have a chapter in here for debunking young earth creationism, and we have 2 entire chapters in here for debunking the flat earth movement. They were some of my favorite chapters. There's also a few chapters in here about refuting the A&E, Ancient Near Eastern stuff that modern Bible scholars seem to be obsessed with. A&E interpretations, Ancient Near Eastern interpretations of the Bible, seem to be something that modern Bible scholars are obsessed with. They shouldn't be obsessed with them, but they definitely are. And this book does a good job at refuting A&E interpretations of the Bible. This book does a good job at debunking the Flat Earth movement and debunking young Earth creationism. Because no, the Bible does not teach a flat Earth. I also have debunked the Flat Earth movement in some of my videos too, and this book also does a very good job at debunking the Flat Earth movement. The Bible has never taught a flat Earth, never will teach a flat Earth, and currently does not teach a flat Earth. Okay? This is a very good book. You should read it. I really enjoyed reading this book. It's a pretty quick read, too. Only 262 pages. Pretty quick read. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I think you will too. Okay? This book has some really good science in it. It has some really good theology in it. I really enjoyed reading this book. This book has some really good apologetics in it. It's a very good defense of biblical inerrancy, of dual revelation. Biblical inerrancy is the belief that the Bible is inerrant without error. And dual revelation is the belief that the record of nature and the record of Scripture, or the Bible, do not conflict. That both the record of nature and the Bible come from God and tell the truth and do not conflict. That's when interpreted correctly. When the Bible is interpreted correctly and when the record of nature is interpreted correctly, they do not conflict. This book does a very good job of showing how they do not conflict. That's the doctrine of dual revelation, or the two books doctrine. It's sometimes called the two books doctrine. The doctrine of dual revelation is very essential to Christianity, and so is the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. Young Earth creationism seems to forget about the doctrine of dual revelation. So yeah, Young Earth creationism seems to forget about the doctrine of dual revelation. And I think it's theistic evolution, or evolutionary creationism, seems to forget about the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. They seem to forget about the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. So yeah, evolutionary creationism, and yeah, that is a thing, throws out the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. And Young Earth creationism throws out the doctrine of dual revelation. But both of these doctrines are very essential doctrines. So This book does a very good job at defending those doctrines. That's why I enjoyed reading it. And I think you will enjoy reading this book too. Okay? It was a really good book. Okay? This book is also a companion book to a few of the other RTB books that I have read too. This book is a companion book to Navigating Genesis, A Matter of Days, Hidden Treasures in the Book of Job, and Who Was Adam? You really should have read all of those books before reading this book. Because this book is a companion book to those books. So you should have read Navigating Genesis before reading this book. You should have read A Matter of Days before reading this book. You should have read Hidden Treasures in the Book of Job before reading this book. And you should have read Who Was Adam before reading this book. Because this book is a companion book to those books. Okay? I have read all of those books, and I read them before reading this book. Okay? So read those books before reading this book. Okay. Okay, so this book also mentions that the Flat Earth movement throws out the doctrine of dual revelation. Young Earth creationism throws out the doctrine of dual revelation. The Flat Earth movement also throws out the doctrine of dual revelation. Evolutionary creationism, also known as theistic evolution, throws out the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. So, the Flat Earth movement and Young Earth creationism throw out the doctrine of dual revelation, and evolutionary creationism throws out the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. And this book does a very good job of showing how those beliefs throw out some essential doctrines of Christianity. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I think you will enjoy reading it too. This is a very good book. Read it. Okay? Something else that this book also does a pretty good job at debunking, and that's a teaching, a false teaching known as devine accommodation. The way the book describes devine accommodation is the belief that God accommodates for mistakes of the past, like scientific mistakes, like scientific errors or mistaken science. God accommodates for them. That's what the belief says, that he accommodates for these mistakes. This book does a pretty good job at debunking the idea, the false teaching of divine accommodation. The author of this book does not call divine accommodation heresy, but to me, divine accommodation sounds like heresy. It sounds like heresy to me. So I'm going to call it heresy, because that's what divine accommodation is. The author of the book doesn't call it heresy, but to me, it sounds like heresy. So I'm going to call it heresy, because that's what it sounds like. That's what it is. They are teaching heresy. Divine accommodation is heresy. God would not accommodate mistakes, scientific or otherwise. He's not going to allow mistakes to slip through in his holy word. That's not what God is going to do. He's not going to allow errors to slip into his holy word to accommodate them. That's not what he's going to do. He's not going to do that. Divine accommodation is baloney. It's malarkey. It's drivel. It's heresy. It's a false teaching. It's nonsense. And this book does a good job at debunking divine accommodation, which is being taught by a lot of Bible scholars nowadays. This book explains why it was a mistake for the NIV to start using vault as its translation for rakia instead of expanse, like most other Bibles do. Most other Bibles use expanse, space, sky as their translation of rakia. Even firmament is better than vault or canopy. And this book explains why using vault or canopy was a mistake for their translation of the Hebrew word rakia. It's a mistake. They should have stuck with expanse or space. But yeah, divine accommodation is a heresy. Okay? Divine accommodation is a heresy masquerading as a doctrine. Divine accommodation is heresy, and it should not be taught. Okay? What really worries me is something that is mentioned in this book. It's how the Bible scholars, the modern day Bible scholars, want to redefine and revise what is biblical inerrancy and dual revelation. Biblical inerrancy and dual revelation are foundations of our faith. They're essential Christian doctrine. They don't need to be redefined or revised or thrown out. These Bible scholars, they're trying to redefine, revise, essentially throw out what is biblical inerrancy and dual revelation. This stuff doesn't need to be redefined. It doesn't need to be revised. It is fine the way it is. Divine accommodation is heresy. This book does a good job at refuting A&E teachings. The idea that the human authors of the Bible echoed the myths of their neighbors. They did not. The human authors of the Bible did not echo the myths of their neighbors. That's not something that happened. The Bible does not have myth in it. It's truth. It doesn't have myth in it. The Bible is truth. There is no myth in the Bible. It's truth. Bible scholars need to stop focusing on A&E and focus on what the Bible actually teaches. It teaches truth. The Bible teaches truth. It teaches history. Events that actually happened. The Bible is truth. Stop trying to redefine things. Stop trying to revise things. These are foundations of our faith. Stop trying to throw them out. It ain't right. Okay? Stop it. Okay? I really enjoyed reading this book. This is a really good book, a really quick read. I really did enjoy reading this book. It's very simple to get through, a lot of good science, a lot of good theology, a lot of good apologetics. Very simple read. Very easy to get through, very quick read. I really enjoyed reading this book. And I think you will enjoy reading this book too. Read this book, okay? Read it. Okay? That's all I have to say. See you in my next video. Okay? Okay. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell. And follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. This has been a video on the Knight Ministries channel. I am your host, Jeremy Knight, and I just want to say, see you next time.